Agatha, and she has both of Wanda's kids bound by some electric rope, almost like Wonder Woman's rope, you know.
Yeah.
And she has the kids bound, and she's like, "I have your kids," and blah blah blah. And she's like really being threatening, and that made me think of the Master Pandemonium, because in the comic book, Master Pandemonium is in that same in his realm. And the kids are actually not bound by any rope or any energy. They're part of his body. And so actually
arms.
There is arms.
And
so
they were like Wanda used her powers to allow her to get pregnant with the Vision's kid. And that's another thing that always drives me nuts, is people being like, how can Wanda and the Vision have a child? It's like, he's not a nuts and bolts robot. He simulates.
He's got nuts and bolts.
He simulates. Exactly.
Synthesoid, yeah.
He's supposed to simulate human life. We've seen the inside of his body. He has literally antibodies, and he has, like blood cells. He's not. He's not
a T-800 from Terminator.
He's not fucking Data.
although he is, as Data, fully functional.
Yes.
And versed in a variety of techniques.
Yes. Which evidently he learned from Simon Williams.
All that time in Hollywood.
Yeah. So, it's like that always bothered me, even as a kid. It's like, why can't they have kids? Because they had kids, because it's a fucking comic book. And then they had to come up with, for some reason, this, reasoning that they were two parts of Master Pandemonium's soul. And then,
well, yeah, because when you first see Master Pandemonium drawn really shitty by Al Milgrom.
Hey, listen, I like Al. It
was just not the West Coast Avengers. They had some good issues, but I don't even know if it was Milgram the entire time. Some of the art really was just, very rushed.
Terrible. Yeah.
Milgram's run, I never thought Milgram was a good fit for the Avengers.
He did a great job. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. He did a great run in Spectacular Spider-Man. I'm not anti-Al Milgrom. I'm anti-Al.
No, but for that
I'm anti that beginning run of Avengers, of West Coast Avengers, when they called it West Coast Avengers. It wasn't good.
It was a big step down, too, from Bob Hall in the limited series. Like,
exactly.
The limited series was it blew your mind.
That's true. Bob Hall's art in that is really great.
So it's a big step down, But anyway.
They kind of just threw it together. And the writing was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
back in the day, I was an art kid first.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a visual medium.
You can't sell me on a great story with crappy art. It's hard. As a kid, as an adult, I can look past the art if the storytelling is good. But as a kid, no, I couldn't.
Well, listen, man. I know. I don't know how many people who have recommended certain series. There were two quirky series from the 80s that DC published that get great critical acclaim, but I just can't read them. I can't read Animal Man, and I can't read Doom Patrol from that era because the art was just terrible. Was. But another trope that Marvel goes back to, I want to talk about specifically with Wanda's kids and West Coast Avengers. And something that Byrne did repeatedly is the whole, this woman is now one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. She goes crazy. 'Cause women, right? It's like...
I never thought of it like that.
How many fucking characters? Dark Phoenix Phoenix right off the bat.
Can I be honest and admit something? The other day, Mark and I were talking. We were just having a conversation, and I never made the Phoenix Wanda connection. It was right in my face, but I never made it. I just never made that connection.
Yeah, and I mean, Byrne did it with Sue Storm when he turned her into Malice. It's like, Oh, it's like
women be tripping.
Yeah, exactly. It's like let's show that Sue Storm is, and listen, like we were talking about, Byrne's art is fucking unreal when he was doing Fantastic Four, but that issue where Barbara Walters interviews Sue Storm did not age well, man. Whoa.
I hate that Malice costume too.
Well, no, you're talking about an earlier issue though, aren't you?
No, I'm talking about the issue where the Byrne issue where she Barbara Walters interviewed Sue Storm, and Levi, you're talking about the number 4 cutout costume, right?
Is that no. That's that's much later.
I'm talking about Malice. When
he's like talking about when she turned into Malice, Mistress of Hate.
Oh, Malice. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Malice. Yeah. That costume. Yeah,
and with the bad haircut. Yeah.
Oh God, she had the mullet.
Mullet.
Yeah.
Byrne.
John Byrne was always a man of his time.
Yeah, he did. I don't, man. I remember when she got her hair cut like that, and everybody was like, "Oh, what the fuck is that?" That's a haircut that guys had 3 years ago. No, I remember it because I was, I was reading those when I were hitting.
That was when I started to lose my enthusiasm because they'd given Byrne a new inker, and all of the vividness of his art got slurped.
It got slugged. Yeah, you're right.
I think it was Jerry Ordway.
It was Ordway. I mean, I like Ordway,
and they were changing their printing too. Half the books faded. And it was just something about the art there just slurped it all out.
It was a dramatic turn. It was like, what the hell just happened? Like, what did they do?
I want my goddamn Terry Alston.
Well, you know what? Byrne inked himself on FF.
Yes.
And I know this because when I first met John Byrne when I was 10 years old, and he was like, well, I'm inking myself. And I was like, I thought Terry Austin was inking you. And he's like, I think I know who's drawing my own comic, young man.
that sounds like him.
Yeah, exactly. And then Byrne made a comment about somebody asked him a question, and he was like, what are you asking me for? Jack Kirby's right over there. He's a real fucking talent, not me, not some pretender like me who was still being an asshole. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I went over. I'm like, hi, Mr. Kirby. I live in East Williston. And he's like, I used to have a house there. So that's the difference between Jack Kirby and fucking John Byrne. But I'm sorry, aside from all of Byrne's awful transphobia, that's another entire episode.
But let's but as far as WandaVision goes, like that was the one thing. That's what when the source material, when you don't follow it perfectly, you can actually sometimes you have opportunities to improve on it. And that was one. Not seeing Master Pandemonium, huge improvement. Like we didn't need him.
But you still got the tragedy of the kids being figments.
Yes. And you even had the similar visual, but it wasn't as corny. You know what I mean?
But
because they were still tethered. They were still tethered to her, but they weren't part of her body.
Which goes back to showing that you're not going to get chapter and verse of every Marvel comic.
Which is fun, yep.
But they thread it in beautifully. They do.
Yeah, and we obviously we're going to see Wiccan and Speed at some point in the future in the MCU.
Yeah,
and just like they did in the comics. And
like I said, I teased it at the end.
I'm so out of touch. I didn't realize that Wiccan and Speed ended up being Vision and Scarlet's Witch's kids.
Yeah.
Oh, and the new of the Young Avengers, which I never really read, but I know there was. Are they in the Young Avengers animated series too?
I think so, man.
Because I heard good things about it.
They weren't originally. They weren't Scarlet Witch's kids, and then years later they did this whole retcon thing where basically like they were, they still existed, but they were kind of like shunted or something. I'm not exactly sure, but they are Vision and Wanda's kids.
I like it. I like a smart retcon. I like
Marvel.
Use the retcon effectively to correct past mistakes or just connect past the future. Just be smart about it. I like.
Yeah, Marvel's been doing a lot of that of late, and again, I hate it because when I say of late, I mean in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
I know. Like guys,
it's the same reason that Reed and Sue not only have Franklin but have Valeria.
Yeah, but Valeria's been around. That character's been around for 30 years now, right?
Well, close, if not 30, at least 20. But my point is, Valeria is the daughter that Sue miscarried during Byrne's run.
Oh, no, don't tell me they did that. They went back and they did that?
Yeah.
Oh, you thought she died, but she didn't. Oh,
maybe
God.
I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, my connection with the more recent
I don't think so.
Admittedly tenuous.
Yeah,
I went back and I did read, like, everybody was raving about what's his name's run on the FF. So I went back and read that. They don't deal with Valeria in that.
And anybody under 35 listening to this show is like, these senile old men don't know what the fuck they're talking about. By the way,
because you know why? Because I'm sick of Marvel undoing like some of their most pertinent stuff.
Yeah, well, especially if it has emotional weight to it. If it has emotional weight, if you're going to retcon something, retcon a mistake, something stupid. Don't retcon something that has emotional weight to it.
I think after this episode, because if we made a mistake, that's a hell of a boner to leave hanging out on your podcast. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure Valeria is somehow, they did an issue where the reason she's named Valeria is because she again was shunted away as a miscarriage.
Whoa, you know what?
Mark Doom helped bring her back.
Mark is correct. I just looked it up. She was revealed to be the second unborn child of Reed and Sue, whom Sue had seemingly miscarried years before.
I promise you, I'm not happy to be right. And I even like the character.
See, and that's the problem with Marvel that they have is that, like, DC, every 10 years, they're like, all right, we're going to shake things up. We're going to redo continuity because it's a fucking mess. So here's our new thing. Marvel so tenaciously clings to 80 fucking years of continuity. It's like,
you know, Pat, I gotta say, I think Marvel's as bad as DC now because they can't. I'm not kidding when I say I invent my own fucking continuity in my head. I did it, by the way. I started doing it a lot earlier than that. And I'm going to way veer off here. Not too much because we're still on Byrne. But to me, James McDonald Hudson died in Alpha Flight 12. No fucking dumbass resurrection for him.
Oh, yeah.
So I started keeping my own
that
continuity.
Was a terrible story. And like I said, you know, I liked a lot of Doug Munch's stuff.
Yeah. But I don't like undoing something like that. So at some point I started keeping my own continuity. When Spider-Man had the little clone shit again,
and Puck was shrunken down from being a normal sized guy.
That was Bill Mantlo. Yeah, Bill Mantlo.
Oh, it was Mantlo, not Munch. I'm sorry, it's Mantlo.
Mantlo basically, once Byrne left, and Byrne was not did not guide his characters with a gentle hand during his run, but once Byrne left, Mantlo came in and holy shit, it was just a torture garden. He did unforgivable things to Roger Box, who was just this very good-hearted person. He turned him into a fucking maniac, and he had a very gross, disgusting end. He gave North Star AIDS because that if you have a gay character.
Oh wow! Of course,
what's the literal low-hanging fruit if you have a gay character? Let's give him AIDS.
Yeah,
that's so fresh. You know. Meanwhile, Byrne, and I'm going to get a little. Say what you will about Byrne's transphobic comments. Byrne was also very. During that period when Shooter had an edict, it wasn't part of the comics code. Shooter had an edict, no openly gay characters. Byrne took great pains to include a very obviously coded gay character and wrote some very, very poignant stuff about this character because his dictum was Stan Lee's dictum was that everybody gets to play in this sandbox.
Yeah.
So lest we judge John Byrne too harshly for being grumpy Uncle John. He also was an advocate before it was cool to be an advocate.
Yeah, and so in some ways, but like his own view of like equality and feminism is pretty dated and gross. But
I get you, man.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But he said if you're gonna criticize on one end, we got to give him credit where it's deserved.
That's absolutely, absolutely.
Because when they have that Deadly Ernest arc, and you learn how North Star was growing up both as a mutant and a homosexual, and he finds this this person who becomes his mentor. and he's taken from him, the rage that Byrne draws on his face. You don't have contempt for gay people if you're drawing a character with this much compassion and passion.